We can wrap the show up here.
He also was talking about his favorite obsession, which is 2020.
What's that?
In that exchange, he also was talking about the election that he lost in 2020.
Well, he talked about
that,
the 95%. He also got mad because he has 94%.
What's the explanation for that?
95% negative press coverage. He's sitting there in a negative press interview.
What does press conference have to do with the fact that she asked for proof of fraud?
In today's video, Abby Phillip puts Hal Lambert under intense pressure until he completely loses his composure on Newsnight with Abby Phillip. She points out a pattern that people have seen for years. Whenever Trump comes under tough scrutiny, he often moves the focus away from the facts and turns it into personal attacks. The issue is that claims of election fraud have been examined again and again through court cases, audits, and recounts, and they have consistently failed to prove the allegations.
You're one-sided crooked network. So let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. traveled all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
The president wants to say this. You have to let me lie without interrupting me. You have to let me lie and not push back on it. And if you don't give me that kind of coverage, then I do not like the media. And the other thing that the president does is that he substitutes himself for the country all the time. I think people really have to really be careful when they listen to him, because that's an authoritarian thing. When he says that they are the enemy of the country, he really means that they are the enemy of me because they won't let me lie. When he says that people are attacking the country, he really means that they are attacking him. The substitution is a very real thing that happens with Donald Trump in the way that he communicates. And I think everybody needs to pay attention to that.
Why can't Trump take corrections, tough questions? Why can't he put proof on the table of his assertions?
Well, I think you watch the president more than anybody, and I hope everybody at this table would be honest about the fact that the president of the United States takes more tough questions on a daily basis than just about any other president in the modern era. Certainly the last one that we had. Oh, no, I think he should do this two to three times a week. This was a great interview.
Storm out of interviews?
Oh, no, absolutely, because the president's base and most of the country still views the mainstream media as very biased against them. They feel very demonized by the media. They feel very misunderstood by the media. They don't feel like the mainstream media.
That wasn't the question I asked. I asked why won't he present
to try to
actual proof of the thing that he's claiming?
Can I talk about that? Because that's always the comeback. Where's the evidence?
Yeah, because
the evidence is this.
If you're going to claim fraud, there should be some evidence.
Okay.
That's
the evidence is this. You have a California system that enables fraud to happen easily. You don't have voter ID. You have mass mail-out ballots. You have voter cards.
That's not evidence. That's
time out.
That's just a description
of an electoral
system.
It's an electoral system that's ripe for fraud.
Ripe for fraud is not fraud.
And then you
that
have
is not fraud.
No, but then you have statistical anomalies where you have Rahman, who was third place, was getting 20% of the vote, and then the vote after the election day, she gets 40% of the vote.
So
that's a total
speculation is also not true. It is so infuriating to watch people try to make speculation into proof.
Americans can have real disagreements about voter ID laws, mail-in voting, early voting, or how states count ballots after Election Day. However, if someone is going to argue that an election was stolen or manipulated, the level of proof required is extremely high. The problem is that after years of investigations and reviews, that proof still has not appeared. More than 60 lawsuits challenging the 2020 election were dismissed by judges appointed by both Republican and Democratic presidents. Republican-led reviews in states like Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin found no evidence of widespread fraud that could have changed the final result. Georgia alone carried out several recounts, including a full hand recount, and every time the outcome remained unchanged. What makes this even more important is that this pattern did not start in 2020. Donald Trump claimed the Iowa caucuses were rigged after losing to Ted Cruz in 2016. Even before a single vote was cast in the 2016 general election.
It's not speculation, that's data.
That is not data.
We're going to spend a whole segment on the California race in just a moment. So we're going to talk through some of the stuff that you're talking about there. But I actually think that we can boil it down much more simply than this. Trump falsely believes that he won the 2020 election that he lost. When he is challenged on that, He gets upset and he storms out of an interview. Explain that one.
They were talking about the mayoral race in California, and he was talking about the fraud there, the rigged election there.
Okay.
That's what they were
It's rigged? You believe it's rigged?
But
I do believe it's rigged.
Hold on.
Oh, my God. We can wrap the show up.
100% rigged.
We can wrap the
He
show up.
turned
He also
that
was
into
talking about
his favorite obsession, which is 2020.
What's that?
In that exchange, he also was talking about the election that he lost in 2020.
Well, he talked
You know
about
that, right?
95%. He also got mad because he has
So,
90%.
what's the explanation for that?
95% negative press coverage. He's sitting there in a negative press interview.
What does press conference have to do with the fact that she asked for proof of fraud?
Here's the thing about the president. When he was candidate Trump and they had the primary and he lost to Ted Cruz, the first thing he said was it was rigged. And he insisted that the state officials change the actual results of that primary. You remember that. And Ted Cruz was very upset by that because he called Ted Cruz a liar. That was what, 10 years ago. So to characterize this conversation without an understanding of who he has been, I think is unfair to the conversation we're supposed to be having now. He's always done this.
Caroline also suggested that Trump loves taking tough questions, but here is his very real history of not taking tough questions that he doesn't like. Listen.
Your first statement was, are you ready for tough questions?
Are you?
That's no way to talk. It's no way to talk. I think we have enough of an interview here, Hope. Okay, that's enough. Let's go. Let's go.
The only way it's not going to happen again is you have to solve the problem of the presidential rigged election of 2020.
Mr. President, if I might, one more question.
The woman that you said was a great doctor in that video that you retweeted last night said that masks don't work and there is a cure for COVID-19, both of which health experts say is not true. She's also made videos saying that doctors make medicine using DNA from aliens and that they're trying to create a vaccine to make you immune from becoming religious.
Well, maybe it's the same, maybe it's not.
Last week, well, real quick. Last week
thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Hold on, because I haven't spoken. There's two different things that I think need to be addressed in the clip that we saw from the Meet the Press interview.
First, let's look at the facts. Claims that the 2020 election was stolen have been examined and investigated for years. More than 60 legal challenges were unsuccessful, including cases reviewed by judges appointed by Donald Trump himself. Republican election officials in states such as Georgia and Arizona also confirmed the election results. Trump's own Attorney General, William Barr, publicly stated that the Justice Department found no evidence of widespread fraud that could have changed the final outcome. And this pattern did not start in 2020. Trump claimed the Iowa caucuses were rigged after losing to Ted Cruz in 2016. He also warned that the general election could be fraudulent before a single vote had even been cast that year. The consistent pattern is not really about the election process itself. It is about whether the result works in his favor. But the larger issue is how criticism is dealt with. Tough questions from journalists are not personal attacks. They are a normal part of their job. Walking out of interviews or refusing to answer when asked for evidence does not make someone appear confident. Instead, it creates even more questions. The treatment of women journalists is also difficult to ignore. Studies from organizations such as the International Center for Journalists have found that women in media often face far more personal attacks and harassment than their male colleagues. Remarks about appearance, attitude, or whether a woman smiles enough are rarely aimed at male reporters in the same way. You do not have to agree with.
The first is him alleging that he didn't lose the 2020 election. Trump and his team filed over 60 challenges in court and lost every single one of them. So there is no evidence that held up in court. That's number one issue. The second issue, which to me is just as horrible and needs to be discussed, is his consistent berating and insulting and ad hominem attacks, particularly against women. whether it's
Give
Kristen.
me a break.
What do you mean, give me a break? Kristen Walker this week.
It's Kristen.
Caitlin Walker.
I'm
Caitlin
sorry.
Collins last
I've
week.
worked with
The woman
Kristen
he
when I
called
worked
Piggy.
at the White
Will
House.
you give me a
to
break?
say
Have
that
you
you're
no
going up
shame
against
as a
those
woman
women? No.
that we hear
Kristen
him
was
call them
tougher
ugly
on-
and piggy and
Kristen
crooked
was
and
tougher
liars
on him
and
in
stupid
that
and bad
interview
journalists?
than I have seen
you
most-
absolutely
that's
no
probably the
solidarity with
toughest
women?
interview I've
oh
seen
my
him
God, I
face
can't believe you sit
today.
here and tell
He
me to give
pushed
you a
up
break.
against
But
her
in
because
this
she was a
network,
tough
we hear
journalist.
him
Not because she
tell
was a
our
woman.
journalist that
Caroline, let me let
she's
her
not
finish,
fit to
because
be
she
a
didn't finish her
journalist
thought.
because she doesn't smile. How dare you tell me to give you a break? Have
Caroline,
some shame.
Why would
don't
the
you?
president tell a woman that she doesn't smile enough when she's working, asking him a question?
Because he's an equal opportunity offender, and let's not pretend. Let me explain how the
Give me
game.
another example of
Let
him
me
telling
explain
a
how the
man.
game. Let me explain how the game works.
Again, give me an
because
example
let
of
me-
him being equal
Let me explain how the game
opportunity
works because
with that
Caitlin got something out of that
particular
exchange
insult,
too.
Caroline.
The president gets a lot out of having combative exchanges with journalists. His base loves it. His poll, that's why I said he should do 2 to 3 more of these a week. His poll numbers go up. But Caitlin's getting something out of it too. So many journalists have made their careers in this country off of being combative with President Trump, Caitlin Collins included, Jim Acosta, many former people. It is all part of the game. It is all part of the theater.
not a
She's
game.
tough.
It's
She
not-
can
why is it a game
But
to
the
you?
fact that you guys are going to call this a woman problem, Kristen did one of the toughest interviews I have seen someone do with the president up
And
to
he
date,
walked up
she
and
deserves
left
credit for
because
that.
he couldn't
But
take it.
He didn't push back.
She
that she's
flew
a
all
woman.
the way to
He just pushed
Wisconsin,
back that it was tough
left her, and
questions.
did
Grow up.
went to do her job. No, the guy needs to grow up. He's the president of the United States. He needs to grow up, and instead of walking out, having
many
a
interviews did
tantrum
Biden
and
do?
taking-
How many interviews did Biden
and
do
how much
like
did you
that?
criticize
He never
him?
did an interview.
Okay, and Biden is
It's
back in the White House. We can discuss
reflex.
it.
The Biden is like a reflex.
Separate
Jesus.
conversation
It's the truth.
than just
So is the 2020 election.
Biden, blah, 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 Biden,
Guys,
blah, 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 blah,
one at a
blah,
time,
Biden.
please. Elsie, you were making a
Jesus.
point.
Look, I get it. You want the president to look good.
I get it. You want to talk about 2020. I mean, I'm bringing up Biden.
I actually brought up 2015 when he started beginning the lies
You did that too.
about talking about how elections have been stolen. I was just letting you know there's a pattern here that's been 2 years long. That's why I brought that up. But to the point I'm trying to say right now is that what do you want this nation to gravitate towards? The behavior that we've seen in which you berate women, or behavior in which you learn how to negotiate with someone that you don't agree with, but you don't need to yell or get up
It's
and
not
beat
about
them out of
women.
There is a major difference between skepticism and proof. Concerns about mail-in voting, voter ID laws, or election procedures are policy discussions that reasonable people can debate. But claiming that an election was stolen requires solid evidence, not assumptions based on how votes were counted or when they were counted. We've seen this situation play out many times. Following the 2020 election, dozens of lawsuits were filed across several states, and judges appointed by both Democratic and Republican presidents found no evidence of widespread fraud that could have changed the result. Republican-led audits in states like Arizona and Georgia reached the same conclusion. Georgia even carried out multiple recounts, including a full hand recount, and the outcome remained exactly the same. What is more concerning is the increasing tendency to treat any fact that challenges a preferred narrative as evidence of bias. If every journalist who asks for proof is labeled an enemy, and every institution that disagrees is automatically called corrupt, then true accountability becomes impossible. Charles also makes an important point about how often political leaders blur the line between criticism of themselves and criticism of the country. In a democratic society, no leader is supposed to be big